Hello guys, welcome to a new video. This is just a little tutorial on how I cut out stickers like the ones you can see here on the silhouette portrait. As far as I'm aware, this should also work on the Cameo, which is basically just a larger version of the portrait, but I can't promise anything. If you have a different kind of cutting machine, unfortunately I can't give you any advice on that because I've only used the silhouette. So my stickers, as you can see here, are full cut around the outside with a kiss cut in the middle. So you peel off the sticker with some of the outside left on the backing. And that basically just protects the edges of the sticker if your design is quite delicate. It also makes it a little bit easier for the person using the sticker to peel it off from the backing, so it's just less finicky. And then of course when you've learned how to do kiss cuts, you can make entire sticker sheets instead of just individual ones. So all round, I think kiss cutting is a really helpful thing to do. You might not need to do that with your designs, in which case you can just take out the steps that you don't need from this tutorial, but hopefully it can help you to make the kind of stickers that you're after. I'm not saying this is the only way or the best way to cut stickers on the silhouette, but it's just the way that I do it. Silhouette machines are kind of the same as printers in that sometimes they're amazing and other times you have absolutely no idea how things went so terribly wrong. So I figured that maybe me putting this together might help someone who is struggling to get their machine to behave. So again, it's not the only way to do things, but it's worked for me so far. So to start with, what you're going to need is a PNG file of your image that you're going to make into a sticker, and make sure your transparency is on for the areas around the design. I won't go into that here, so if you're curious about how to do that, just Google it, you should find something pretty easily. And then what you want to do is open up the Silhouette software that came with the machine, and then just bring in your PNG file into it. So what we need to do next is go on to the trace option on the top right and select trace area. Now if anyone's watching this who is familiar with Silhouette Studio and is wondering why I'm not using trace and detach, it's because in my experience it only works with very simple designs, and it also crashes when it does anything above a very simple design. So I'm imagining the people viewing this have designs about the level of complexity as mine, so I've made a workaround. But trace and detach is something you can do to take out the background if your design is very simple, so you can just look that one up. But again, not to worry because this workaround will deal with it absolutely fine. Next you need to select your design and deselect high pass filter and select low pass filter, and use the threshold bar to turn it up as far as you need to cover your design in yellow right up to the edges. So that's just telling your silhouette where the design is and where the edges are. And then after that you're going to click on Trace Outer Edge. After that, go to the offset option at the top and click offset, because we need to expand the edges so that the silhouette doesn't cut right up to the lines of your drawing. Now you can make your offset as large or small as you like. Mine is 0.12 inches. Bear in mind that this is the edge where your silhouette will cut. Now click apply and drag your image out of that offset, and then drag the inner outline out of it as well, because you don't need that one anymore. Delete the inner outline and then go on to the cut settings on the top right. Then go on to advanced and then line colour. Now you may have two options under here, or you may have one if your silhouette's behaving itself. If it isn't, you might have the same problem as me and your silhouette has decided to outline the edges of your PNG file. In which case that's fine, just ignore that, leave that box unchecked and it will be absolutely fine. Now unfortunately the next part may be a bit more trial and error for you, because I can't advise exactly what settings you should use because it varies depending on your paper, but I can tell you what I use for mine. So first of all I'm going to be doing the kiss cut. So my paper that I'm using for my stickers is self-adhesive 120g glossy photo paper. So what I use for the kiss cut is the settings on the blade on 2, the speed on 5 and the thickness on 5. Next I need to mark out the place for my second cut, which is the proper cut, which will go all the way through the paper and the backing. So I go on to offset again, and then I make another larger offset, and then I click apply. I also go on to the option just next to offset in the menu, which will allow me to change the colour of that line so I can easily tell which one's which. Next I go on to cut settings again, and I make sure my settings are right for my blue outline, which is now my outer one, so that will need to go the whole way through the paper. So my settings for that one are blade on 4, speed on 4 and thickness on 33. Obviously you'll notice a huge difference in the thickness of this cut because it needs to go the whole way through the paper, not just through the top layer. Now I can move the image back into my outlines, And it's worth, before you do this, just double checking to make sure you haven't got any parts in there that the Silhouette thought were an edge when it was just a part that it didn't select beforehand, because otherwise you'll end up with a cut in the middle of your image where you don't want one. Go back onto design page settings, select your image and then right click and select group, which will put the different parts of your image together so that when you move it, it'll all go together. So now you've got that all set up, you can copy and paste your image as many times as you want to fit however many you need on one page. Next we need to go to the registration marks menu. So basically what registration marks are just lines on the paper that tell the Silhouette where it needs to go to cut. So these are essential for your cutting process. So if you click on registration marks and then go to type 1, which says cameo or portrait underneath it, then the printer will print those registration marks along with your design, and then the Silhouette knows where to cut. Next you can go on to print, and obviously you guys know how your own printers work, so I won't tell you how to do that. I will usually tend to go for borderless on my options if I can, because that uses up more of the space on the paper, makes the stickers slightly bigger, so that's always worth doing. Now it's time to print, and here you can see the paper that I'm using. I bought it on eBay, I'll put a link in the description below. It's available definitely within the UK, I'm not sure if it's available internationally, but hopefully you can find something similar where you are. And now we're on to the cutting part. So what I'm using here are obviously the Silhouette portrait machine. I'm using a standard A4 mat, and I'm also using the Silhouette spatula and the scraper as well. You don't need these, but they do make things easier. The spatula is for getting the stickers off the mat, and then the scraper is for cleaning it off afterwards, because cutting stickers tends to leave quite a lot of bits all over the place. The mat has little marks on the sides with the measurements on, so you can easily line up your paper. In this case my paper is A4 size, so I can easily match it up and then stick it down. So make sure it's stuck down nice and firmly, because you don't want it lifting up while it's going through the machine. As a note for anyone who may be watching this tutorial before they make stickers for the very first time, don't use your mat straight out of the box. You need to do something to reduce the stickiness or you will wreck your stickers, because they do arrive extremely sticky. So my advice is to get a piece of cardboard, like a back of a cereal box or something, and just put it on the mat and kind of rub it over it so that the surface of the mat isn't quite as sticky as before. Double check that your blade is set on the right setting for the kiss cut, or whichever one you're doing, and then you can feed your mat into the machine. Now you need to go into the cut settings menu and select whichever cut you're doing first. In my case it's the kiss cut, and then you'll need to send it to the Silhouette. So if your Silhouette is anything like mine, it may throw a tantrum at this point and say that it can't find the registration marks, in which case you'll have to do it manually. That's easy enough, just go on to the buttons, the arrows just underneath the registration options, and then you can move the blade along so that it's hovering over the registration marks, and then hopefully it should recognise them manually. Once it's finally registered them, then you can click start and watch the magic happen. Once it's done with the first cut, if you are doing 2 cuts, then don't eject the mat from the machine, because if you put it back in it might not be in the right place. So you need it to stay in the machine ready for the next cut. After that, deselect the cut you've just done, select the cut you want to do next, and if you have got that mysterious cut that you don't want because it can't understand the edges of the PNG file, again just leave that deselected and completely ignore it, and the machine will ignore it as well. Change your blade to the right setting, and then you can start cutting the next bit. Once it's done, press the middle button on the machine to eject your mat, and then you can very carefully peel off the outside of the paper around the stickers. Once that's come off, use the spatula, or if you don't have one, use something similar, or just peel them off by hand. Just be very careful, again, especially if your mat is new, because it might cling to the stickers quite hard. So just carefully remove your stickers from the mat, and then if you've got a scraper or something similar, I'd advise cleaning it off after each use because it can build up quite a lot of sticker residue otherwise. And there you go, you have some stickers. So make sure to save your file as you've set it, because then all your settings will be saved for next time. You don't have to do it all over again. You will have to do it for each design, so it's a bit time consuming to begin with, but once you've done that, then all you have to do next time is just send it to the printer and cut it out. So once you've done that, no stress after that. So hopefully this helps you and you end up with some really nice sticker designs. Please do ask if you have any questions. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye!